I had the perfect life. Or the kind of perfect you see in a catalogue. Successful career, beautiful family, the house with the needlessly complicated entryway. Everything was going to plan. And then in one afternoon it all vanished. Life didn't ask for permission. It just took. In that moment, I thought my life was over. What I didn't realise was that hitting rock bottom in my 40s would be the best thing that ever happened to me. It gave me a solid foundation to build a life I actually wanted. This is that story. Let me say this. The silence after everything crashes and burns is the loudest thing you'll ever hear. One day, you're a professional, a partner, a parent. Your identity is a house built of sturdy, reliable bricks. The next, you're standing in the rubble of that house, and you can't even remember the sound of your own name. That's rock bottom. It wasn't just sadness. It was a profound, terrifying nothingness. An emotional numbness that's somehow worse than actual pain. You feel like you're in free fall, and none of the old tricks to pull yourself up are working. For weeks, I was just gone. Every morning started with that gut-wrenching thud in my chest. The reminder that no, this wasn't a nightmare. This was my new reality. The life I'd poured my soul into, the future I had planned down to the last detail was just deleted. And then comes the shame. Oh, the shame. It's a special kind of awful. Even when you've done nothing wrong, shame creeps in like a weird, uninvited party guest. You feel it when you're trying to avoid eye contact with your neighbours in the cereal aisle. You feel it when you let your friends' calls go to voicemail because you just don't have the energy to say, "I'm fine." You feel like a total failure, and you're convinced you're the only person on the planet who has ever been this broken. So you push everyone away, because how could they possibly get it? But here's the first secret you learn down in the dark. You're not that special. Turns out what feels like a uniquely personal catastrophe is actually a surprisingly common part of the human experience, especially in midlife. Job satisfaction for many people apparently hits a nosedive in their 40s. It's a painful, gut-wrenching club to be in for sure, but the membership is huge. And realising that this universal language of loss wasn't just my own private dialect, was the first crack of light in the darkness. My turning point was not a cinematic moment where the clouds parted and a choir started singing. My turning point was much smaller, much quieter. It happened on a Tuesday, which feels about right. I was sitting on the floor surrounded by boxes I couldn't bring myself to pack or unpack. I hadn't really eaten. I hadn't really slept. I was just marinating in my own grey fog. I saw my reflection in the dark TV screen, and for the first time in forever, I didn't just see a victim. I saw this tiny, stubborn flicker of defiance. And a question just popped into my head. Really? Is this how it ends? Right there. I realised I had a choice. I could stay on the floor and let the weight of what I'd lost bury me for good. Or I could stand up. I had no idea where I was going. There was no map. There was zero plan. All I had was the decision that I was not finished. It wasn't a decision born from hope. It was born from sheer, ticked-off grit. It was the moment I finally understood that I couldn't control what life took. I could damn well control my response. It was the moment I stopped looking back at the life that was gone and took one shaky, terrifying step forward. Turns out that hitting rock bottom is often the exact turning point you need to rebuild your life into something new. And so the rebuilding began. Hitting rock bottom was a disaster, but it also gave me something I never know I needed. A clean slate. A completely empty foundation. It was the solid ground I could finally use to consciously build a life I actually loved. And this is how I did it. First, I had to stop fighting reality. Someone much smarter than me calls this radical acceptance. For so long, I was furious with the universe, replaying the past on a loop, which in an exhausting and pointless sport. Radical acceptance doesn't mean you have to like what happened. It just means you stop wasting energy fighting what it is. It's looking at the pile of rubble and saying, okay, this is where I am now. It's giving yourself permission to feel the pain without letting it become your entire personality. It's what Antoinette Blake did after being laid off at 55. She didn't waste time on the unfairness of it all. She just channeled her energy into building an award-winning business. I started a journal, and the first thing I wrote was, what if this door wasn't just closed, but cleared from my path because I'm meant for something else? That tiny shift started turning loss into possibility. Second, I had to figure out who I was without my job title. My old life was built on things other people could see. The title, the salary, the markers of success. When those things were gone, I had to look inward. For the first time, I asked myself, what do I actually enjoy when no one is clapping? I took a deliberate pause. Instead of frantically trying to rebuild the exact same life I'd lost, I got quiet. Studies show that mindfulness can seriously reduce stress during big life changes, and boy, was this a big one. I started taking long, aimless walks. No podcasts, no music, just the sound of my feet on the pavement. I started noticing small things, the smell of rain, the way the light hit the leaves. In that quiet, I started to untangle my self-worth from my achievements. My purpose wasn't a destination. It was just a way of living that felt right. Third, I embraced the power of small. When you're at the bottom, building a new life feels impossible. So, I didn't try. I just tried to win the day. Some days winning was taking a shower and eating a meal that didn't come from a crinkly bag. Gold medal for personal hygiene. Other days, it was updating one line on my resume. You don't need a grand plan. You just need to build new habits, one tiny change at a time. Take Virginia Ginger Rock, who got laid off at 49 and went back to college. She didn't become a registered nurse overnight. She did it one class, one exam at a time, graduating at 52. Momentum is built in inches, not miles. Each small action was a vote for my future self. It was a quiet declaration that I was still in the game. And that led to the fourth and hardest step, letting the old me go. The person who comes out of the fire is never the same one who went in. You have to mourn the person you used to be and the life you thought you'd have to make room for the new one. But here's the thing about reinvention. It doesn't require permission, it just requires purpose. This wasn't a setback, it was an invitation to build a more authentic life. It's no wonder so many career changers over 45 say they're happier after taking the leap. We see it all the time with women who start businesses over 50 and find incredible success. Vera Wang didn't even start her fashion label until she was 40. Robin Lyle revitalized her family's winery in her 50s. They weren't starting over, they were starting from experience. That reframe changes everything. You aren't broken, you're being sculpted. This isn't punishment, it's growth. My life today looks nothing like that perfect life I lost. Thank God. It's smaller in some ways, but it's infinitely bigger in others. It's not perfect, but it's real. It's mine. The joy is quieter, but it's deeper. The purpose is clearer. I learned that what feels like the end is usually a violent, messy, but necessary beginning. It's the universe's brutal way of pointing you toward the life you were meant to live all along. The fall will hurt. It will absolutely bring you to your knees. But rock bottom is not a grave, it's a foundation. It's the most solid ground you will ever stand on, and from there, the only way to go is up. It's never too late. At 30, author Rich Roll thought his life was over. By his 50s, he was an ultra-athlete who knew it had just begun. So, if you're on the floor right now, if you are in that dark, quiet place, please hear me, feel the pain, mourn what you lost, but do not believe for 1 second that this is the end of your story. If this hit home for you, I'd be honoured if you'd share a piece of your own story in the comments. Let's build a community down here because none of us are alone in this. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, please share it. Subscribe for more stories about turning life's biggest messes into its greatest opportunities. Remember, you will come back from this, and when you do, you will be stronger, wiser, and more you than ever before. Thank you for watching. I look forward to seeing you in the next 50 and Unfiltered video, my friend.